I want to be balanced, and like I feel like we've been pointing out, some of the bad people in the anti-Israel crowd. And I felt like, you know what? Let's do some balance. And like I told you, I pride myself on listening to all sides. I listen every day to the most pro-Israel media and the most anti-Israel. Well, not the most. Like that would be like the neo-Nazis. I'm not talking about them, but I listen to the Kyle Kalinske, Owen Jones, etc. Navarra media, Um, and I thought, I gotta point out when there's bad things on the Israeli side. And I was actually just watching this yesterday. I just discovered this Israeli politician who's got one of the most fascinating Wikipedias I've ever seen, which is Moshe Feiglin. Do you know him?
Unfortunately, I do. Yes.
And it's very interesting eyes if you look at him. And I
Alarming.
was I listened to an interview with him, and I couldn't believe the graphic at the start of this show. And it says enter, demolish, rule Gaza, exclamation point. Demolish, rule Gaza. I was like, whoa. And I watched this.
We will start, we're
This is from two, I
in
think this
this
is two
war.
months ago.
That will be the first question.
Well, I can say it in three words in Hebrew. I'm not sure I can translate it in 3 words. The first thing that needs to be done is to
Flatten.
flatten the Gaza Strip.
And I should say that the two women hosting this are smiling or grinning as he says this.
So flat is number one. Annex full Israeli sovereignty is number two, and that will lead to full victory. Nothing less than that. Annex plus a total destruction of Gaza.
Carpet bomb, they call it.
Dresden, as the British did in Dresden, as the Americans did in Hiroshima. Nothing left. Nothing. Not a soul. Not up ground and underground. Before the soldiers coming in. Not as they doing now, sending the soldiers to find the Hamasnik behind the skirt of his grandmother.
So flattening, carpet bombing, sovereignty equals victory.
Yes,
and the question
bombing,
that comes,
I was sort of honestly sort of astonished, but and a lot of the people I know who really don't like Israel post these clips, and uh, these are disturbing clips. Now, I don't think they can be hand waved. One thing I would point out is if you watch these full interviews with Feiglin, he hates the IDF leadership because they don't agree with his point of view. He thinks they're like American puppets and weak and don't want to win. But this is part of the Israeli landscape, that can't be denied.
Yeah, if you follow the Hebrew discourse on the war, this is very common. This is not just I wouldn't even call it just fringe. Well, first of all, Moshe Feiglin is a former member of Knesset. He was even deputy speaker of Knesset for a little while. Netanyahu makes deals with absolutely insane right wingers all the time, and this was one of them. Because at one point he was pretty formidable within the Likud. Um, most politicians don't talk like this, including, by the way, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, who are the more extreme members of the current government, but many of their voters do. And if you listen to Israeli radio, very often they'll bring on regular people and they'll talk just like this. And the host, who is invariably probably center left or something like that, will, go, won't counter them on it, won't comment on it. because it's pretty common and no one wants to deal with it. There's always been people like that regarding the Palestinians, and they've probably doubled or tripled since October 7th, which was a terribly traumatic event. This is part of the Israeli discourse. There's no point in pretending otherwise. I hear it all the time. Early on in the war, I even heard it from some of my left-wing friends. Now I hear it less. People are coming to their senses, and the way the Israeli government has acted is not in line with this. Of course, Israel could have done that. There's a reason Moshe Feiglin, like you pointed out, and Caroline Glick and all these people are talking about how terrible the IDF is, because the IDF is not acting this way. And if it did act this way, by the way, Israelis would be out in the streets. Many Israelis, couldn't tell you the numbers, many Israelis would be out in the streets. Remember, Israelis came out in the 1980s after the Sabra and Shatila massacre in the Lebanon War, because there is a sense in Israel that we're the good guys, we're not the ones who commit crimes and commit genocides, and will stop Israel if it does. That is part of the Israeli identity. So those people are in the minority, but they're definitely part of the discourse, and Israelis hear this all the time.
I should just say, because I found it interesting, I was reading about Feiglin, and it was interesting because on all these interviews, he keeps saying, we need to become more of a Jewish state, and he keeps saying that. And I looked at his Wikipedia, and he's like against the rabbis having the power to ban certain food, and he's he's sort of a libertarian.
He's a weird libertarian, yeah.
Yeah, he wants to offer the Palestinians like large sums of money to emigrate to other countries. When people talked about the goal being ethnic cleansing, I started thinking about it, and I thought, if that was really the goal, the Israelis are smart enough that what they would have done is they would have taken Rafah right at the start, and then rather than doing anything officially, they would just send undercover operatives to just help illegal immigration, blow up a hole in the wall to Egypt and say, hey, there's a hole here. And, or there would be like mysterious boats with just enough gas to get it into Egypt, but not enough to go to Tel Aviv that would end up on the beaches of southern Gaza.
Yeah, there's nothing like that. And also, if there was any plot for anything, it would be immediately revealed because, unfortunately, the current Israeli cabinet is the problem they have with leaks is unbelievable. I hear every single word in a cabinet meeting within 5 minutes of it ending. Really. I have some sources, and then I also follow the Israeli news. I can usually put together an entire transcript of the entire meeting. It's horrible. We know everything that they do, and there are people who say things like we should be encouraging Palestinians to leave, but Israel, can't do that or doesn't want to do that. Depends who, because of American pressure, international, and if it tried to do anything like that, it would immediately leak. In fact, there was a paper where a low-level official recommended encouraging Gazans to leave, which was a mistake to write that paper, and it was immediately in the media all around the world and used by a lot of these anti-Zionist types that you mentioned. You couldn't really have a discussion about this or a policy of this without it being immediately leaked. So that's not happening, and those things that you mentioned would not be happening.